If you enjoy what I do and want more content, please consider supporting the channel. One way to show your support is by donating. You can find a link in the description below. Donations made during a stream will be featured live. If you want more rewards for showing your support, you can become a so-called patron. You can find a link to my Patreon page and all the rewards at patreon.com/Nackagubben.
Nackapodden, ja. Nackapodden, ja. Nackapodden, ja.
Yes! Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Nackapodden. I hope you have a splendid day out there, because I'm having a splendid day as well. It's a great fun to be able to do these types of streams every Sunday, and it's fun that you are here, joined together with me. Enough about that. Today, on this episode of Nackapodden, we're interviewing. We have a guest. Oh, but you didn't guess that. Guest. Never mind. Today's guest is a fellow YouTuber called ScandinavianFreckles. Sorry, I'm tired today. And she describes herself as a Norwegian YouTuber who is a trilingual girl who spends most of her time on YouTube playing The Sims or pretending to be a functioning human being. I copy-pasted this from her YouTube channel, so we're gonna be interesting to see a little bit. So we're gonna talk a little bit about how life is on the Canary Islands. How is it living there, and why does people? I don't know where I was going with that. A quick mention though before we begin here. If you can see here on my left, there's a little window, a tweet window. So if you're interested in asking questions, or if you have any comments in general, and if you're a Twitter user, you can use the hashtag NACKAPODDEN. You can see it there on the top of that, and it will appear in the window next to me. And I'll try to keep an eye on that. I will, of course, keep an eye on the chat as well. So if you have any questions there, I will try to keep that up as well. So, with no further ado, I will let me introduce to you ScandinavianFreckles. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me.
What do you think about my welcoming?
I think it's really cool.
I got a little bit lost there. I lost an S on your YouTube name, but it's ScandinavianFreckles.
Yeah.
So we have that
today, so
yeah, we have that cleared out now, which is good. So you're a YouTuber as well. Can you tell us a little bit what you do on your channel regularly? Like, what type of content do you create?
It depends on the day, basically. I started out doing the Sims videos because I loved creating houses on the Sims. And then I've kind of switched over to doing some random vlogs and some beauty videos. Not that I'm a beauty guru or anything like near that, but I do some makeup tutorials and some story time videos and just like some fun tags and everything. So I'm kind of like an everything kind of YouTuber. I do all of it. I don't have a specific niche, or I haven't found my niche yet, at least, but I do all of it.
Well, it's good to branch out and do multiple things, because it wouldn't be fun to do just one thing and then realize that, oh, this is not fun. I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I found with, because I love to do videos on The Sims and stuff, but I found that it kind of would get a little bit boring just doing that one thing. So I thought, if I just open my channel and can do multiple things, I will never get bored, basically.
That's a good philosophy.
Yeah.
Quickly here we have a Lauri Hiltonen. Does Nackagubben community have a name? Yes, we do have a name, and that is Nackagubben. I didn't come up with that. It was brilliant idea by somebody. I can't remember who it was, but that was amazing. For you, don't speak. I don't know. Do you understand what Nackagubben would mean? Do you know what Nackagubben means, by the way? If we start there.
You're asking me, right?
Yes.
I mean, Gubben is like, is it a boy? Is it like...
It could be boy.
Or like,
I think technically Gubben means old man.
That's what it means. Yeah, like in Norwegian we say gubbe,
Yeah.
but like when you say it in Swedish, it kind of sounds cute. It sounds really cute. But Nacka, I'm not actually sure what it means.
Okay, yeah, well, Nacka is a part of Stockholm. So I'm the old man from Nacka. But
okay.
but that was what was so brilliant about that Nackagubben idea, is that klubben is the club. So it's like, and it rhymes with gubben. So, never mind. We're talking enough about me. You're from Norway, right?
Yes, exactly.
I cannot tell by your accent that you're from Norway. You have the best English I've ever heard.
Oh, thank you.
Well,
likewise. You don't really sound Swedish either. So it's. I mean, I talk a lot. Like I talk English a lot in my day to day, but there are like specific words that I will say that people will see that I'm not, like I am something, but they don't really know what it is.
I think you sound perfectly. You sound very American in your way of speaking. I suppose I do too in a way, but it's interesting. But where in Norway are you from?
I was born in Oslo, in the capital of Norway, and I lived there until I was 7 years old. So my dialect, my Norwegian dialect is from Oslo.
Okay. So you have the. Is that dialect kind of a neutral dialect of Norwegian, or neutral in quotation marks?
No, it is a bokmål, and it is the most basic Norwegian. Like everyone understands it. Like as a Swedish person, you won't have any issue understanding me when I talk in Norwegian.
Yeah. That sounds good. I have a lot of Swedish friends who claim that they don't understand Norwegian, but I think that's a bull thing.
I mean, I know I used to work as a flight attendant, and I flew with a lot of Swedish people, and I flew from Sweden as well. And there are actually a lot of Swedish people that don't understand Norwegian people, but it depends from where they are. Like if they're from northern Norway or like the west side, the west coast, the dialect gets a little bit like they sing and they have like these words that don't really match Norwegian as Norwegian language. I don't know how to explain it, but it doesn't sound the same, as easy as my dialect. So mine is pretty basic. I just talk the basic Norwegian in the Norwegian form, basically.
Yeah.
But there are even I have problems with like the West Coast dialect.
Yeah. That makes sense. I just got a message here from Lost Zero that the title of the stream was wrong, so I changed that. Thank you so much for noting. It still said that the guest was the previous guest, Philip. So I hopefully that will change now. But that's interesting to hear, because I don't find the Western Norwegian that difficult to understand, but I think it has a lot to do with the exposure of Norwegian that you've had throughout your life, I suppose. But in general, does, like, I don't know, you obviously don't know all Norwegians, but would you say it's more common for Norwegians to understand Swedish than the vice versa?
Yes, it is. And it's the reason for that is because, my generation didn't we did. When we were kids, and when my parents were kids and my grandparents and everything, they had Swedish television channels. And when I was little, I would watch Swedish like Astrid Lindgren movies. So I grew up with Swedish, and you grow up talking Pippi Longstrump and stuff like that, that you kind of you just get used to the things that Swedish people, like the different words, because Swedish and Norwegian is very, very similar. Extremely. But you have words and we have words that are different. But ultimately, I think Norwegian people do really understand very, very well the Swedish language.
I totally agree. So do you have any can you tell me, do you have any favorite Norwegian words that you particularly like or enjoyed? Like, maybe it could be the way they sound, or maybe what it means, or maybe it's a very typically Norwegian word that doesn't exist in another language or something. Do you have any word like that do you like?
I'm not sure right now. Like, I don't think there are like in my opinion, my dialect is the most basic one.
Yep.
But then my dad's family is from the southern part, from Kristiansand,
Mm-hmm.
and they talk very like, I love how they talk because they talk like, it just sounds so beautiful. So they have a word, but I like right now I'm not remembering it.
Yeah, that
It's so
happens.
typical. It had don't know what it is, but they say it, and I think it's so cute, and it's just like one of the basic things in life. But they say different from me. But like generally, there aren't any words that I think are like I think everything in Norwegian sounds kind of like weird. I don't know. Like when we talk very fast and very like serious. It sounds like we're like mad or like trying to say
Really?
something very, yeah, everyone says that. Like you sound like there's something wrong or you're angry or whatever. I don't really hear that when I speak, but I feel like that that's the way that we come off when we speak in Norwegian in front of other people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We have I think here in Sweden we have the exact opposite viewpoint of how like we think of Norwegians when they speak. We think like I'm talking generally, but when we hear Norwegian, we're instantaneously like, oh, that's you're cute.
Yeah.
You can't say anything. You can't be mad at a Norwegian. A Norwegian telling you that your mom has died. You're like, oh, really? Has my mom has died? You're like, oh, come on, I want to hug you.
Wow, I didn't.
It sounds so
know that.
cute.
I mean, to me, Swedish sounds really like you sing when you talk in Swedish.
Well,
So,
Norwegian
like,
does
whenever
too.
People ask me, no.
You have
it depends.
you have the little bow at the end, you know. Norge, like.
Not- yeah, I mean, it depends where you come from.
I suppose.
When I speak, I don't feel like that's the case at all.
Yeah.
But I do, like one of the flight attendants that I used to work with, she was always like telling me, "You speak so beautiful," and I'm like, "What? No, you do." Like,
I suppose. I suppose a lot of I think a lot of like it's very common for you to think that your own language sounds this and that, but then the other people would say it's probably the opposite of what you think.
Yeah.
One of my favorite, which I find every time I hear about it, it's hilarious. It's not a Norwegian word. Well, it's a Norwegian word, but there's a Swedish word for beer. It's a slang word for beer in Swedish, which doesn't mean beer in Norwegian at all. I don't know if you've heard about this, but
say that again.
No, I haven't said. We have a word for, especially in, I don't know if it's just Stockholm or something, but we say bash.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I've heard that.
So,
not where I was going with this.
So a Swede could go in. For you who don't know, bash in Norwegian means poo.
Yeah.
So a Swede could go into a bar and say, "Jag vill ha en bash," and they're like, "What? What? Why would you want to have that?"
But I have when I used to work, we had we didn't have a specific base in Gothenburg, but we did go there and fly from there. So we had like layovers, and I would stay there for like 48 hours sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to a cafe with a friend of mine, and we were both Norwegian, and we were sitting there, and I was telling her that I wanted a bolle.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and like the waitress came over, and I'm like, "Do you have like a bolle?" And she was looking at me like, "What?" And she was Danish.
Oh, okay.
And in Denmark, that means yeah, you know what it means?
No, but I could imagine.
Yeah, yeah. So she was looking at me like, "Wait, what?" And just kept saying it, and I was like, I do not know why she's like reacting.
It's so funny how
it's so different.
Yeah, it's funny how words that in languages as Danish, Norwegian, and Swedish, the languages that are really close to each other, there are words that can mean the complete opposite, pretty much.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah, I used to have a neighbor he was a little boy, and I used to babysit him, and he would come over sometimes, and I would always ask him, "Are you hungry?" And one time he said yes, and he said that he wanted a macka.
Yeah.
And that is what do you call it
A sandwich.
in English?
That's a sandwich in Swedish.
The meaning
Macka.
of it, yeah, but in Norwegian, it kind of sounded like he wanted mark, and that is what is it called in the bait that you use when you fish? The
Oh,
living...
oh yeah. I suppose bait. I guess maybe there's somebody in the chat who could like the thing you put on the fishing hook.
Yeah, beings that you
Yeah. Okay, so he's like, I'm hungry for worm.
Yeah, a worm, exactly.
We can talk forever about this, I suppose.
Yeah.
But you say that you're trilingual. For the people at home watching this, what languages can you speak? Which are these three languages that you speak?
The three languages that I speak on a daily basis are Norwegian, English, and Spanish.
And Spanish as well. Do you know any other languages besides that? Like, could you...
I mean, I don't think Danish and Swedish count, but I do. I'm basic in German as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I had it in school for like 12 years, so yeah.
Do you have that as well in Norway, where you have English and Norwegian is the basic main languages, and then you have what we call a C language?
Yes, I think you can choose from French, German, and Spanish.
Yes,
I think it's...
yes.
I'm not sure. I didn't go to a Norwegian school.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's like from the 5th or 6th grade or something like that, but I think when you get older, you can switch. Well, you can choose between one of those three languages.
It sounds pretty much exactly the same as in Sweden. Yeah. So we are pretty much the same country there. And now we're coming to we're talking a lot about Norway and Norwegian right now, but you're currently living on the Canary Islands.
Yes.
How long have you been living there?
It was just got to 19 years.
19 years. So you really know. And on which island? Because there's a bunch of islands there. Which of the islands do you live?
Yeah, there are 7 islands. I live on the second biggest, which is Gran Canaria.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been living here since I was 7 years old. So it's going to be 19 years now next June. It's going to be 19 years. So
I suppose you moved with your parents then. Why did they... you packed your bags and went. No, but why did they move there?
We had been vacationing here since before I was born.
Yeah.
And then when I was born, we continued coming here. We went between this island and another island called Fuerteventura.
Mm-hmm.
And they just really liked the life and the culture and the people.
Yeah.
And my brother came along when I was 2 years old, and he had a really, really bad case of asthma. And in his first 4 years, his doctor said that with every year that would pass and during the winter time, it would get tougher and tougher for him. So the best thing to do would be to go to like a warmer place. And since they loved it so much, they thought, well, we can just change up everything. And I mean, let's be honest, it's cold and it's raining and it's gray and dark all the time in the wintertime in Norway.
Yeah.
So they took it as an opportunity to kind of just pack their bags and leave for the sun, basically.
Well, a good reason to move, I suppose.
Yeah.
And what, like, you've grown up there, I suppose, and I guess you went to school there as well?
Yeah, I was 7, so I did first grade in Oslo, and then I started second grade here on the island, and I did the first 2 years on a Norwegian primary school, which is still here,
Mm-hmm.
and then after that, when my parents realized that we were going to stay for a longer time, they said, well, we need to kind of get them into a Spanish school so they learn the language and
yeah.
everything. So after that, I started studying at a Spanish school.
Cool. So there's a Norwegian school on Gran Canaria then.
Swedish one as well, but it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
more...
of course. But I just figured because Norway is a smaller country in that sense. I know there's like a Swedish school. There's a community, a Swedish community in Spain, but not on Gran Canaria. But it's interesting to see that there's one on like a Norwegian school as well. How was it to go on one? Like, for how long did you attend that school before you switched to the other one?
Only for 2 years.
Okay.
I mean, there's a very big Norwegian community on the island. There are a lot of people. At that time, I think we were like 500 pupils in that school. But the level of education wasn't as high as one would think it would. I mean, it wasn't as high as a Norwegian school in Norway.
Okay.
They spend a lot of time outside, going, in the mountains and going to the beach and stuff like that. It was about living life, and it's not as like we didn't spend a lot of time learning math or G or anything. So after 2 years, my parents said if we want them to succeed, we put them into a real school, basically.
It sounds valid in a way.
Yeah.
So what nowadays then? What do you do for a living on Gran Canaria or Canary Islands or what it was?
Gran Canaria.
Gran Canaria. Yes.
Yeah. I used to work as a flight attendant, but now for the last 4 years, I've been working as a translator. And I have my own company, so I do kind of, it's weird to explain in English, but I do, it sounds really, really wrong. I do service jobs, basically. So whenever I am the kind of go-to person for these Scandinavian people that don't know what to do. So if they come here and if it's either they need to buy a house or they need to buy a car or they need to buy curtains for their house, they contact me and I will fix it up. I will do it for them, or I will arrange for them to do it easier than it would have been for them without knowing the language.
Yeah.
The problem for the Scandinavian people here is that they come here and a lot of them expect that because there are so many Scandinavian people here that the Spanish people are really, really good at English.
Yeah.
But there are cases where the people aren't really that good at English. So I kind of find out that not only can I do translating jobs and stuff like that, but I can also turn it into a service kind of company where I can do whatever needs to be done and help people.
That sounds awesome. And I suppose there's a lot. It's a popular go-to place for a lot of Scandinavians to go to the Canary Islands, I suppose. So I guess there's a lot of clients, if you can say it like that.
Yeah, that's true. We have a really warm year all year round. We have not what you would call, like what we call our summer down here is like 40 to 50 degrees Celsius.
God damn it.
And the rest, like right now it's in the middle of November and it's like right now it's like 25 degrees Celsius, so it's not really that bad. And it's like
I wouldn't mind training that for whatever we have up here right now. It's like so I can see why the Scandinavians go to warmer places such as Canary Islands during these months. So how is that? Like, how is it to? I suppose that's a weird thing. Oh, thank you, Katarina, for subscribing. No, but I suppose you grew up there, so it's maybe a weird question. But I'm used to having very defined seasons. When it's winter, it's cold and rigid and it's snow, and then summer it's hot, and then you come autumn and it's rainy, and then spring it's cold but still snow. How is it to be like completely the sun or rain, I suppose, but like kind of a pretty solid temperature all the year around?
It's a stable season basically. We
Exactly.
have, I mean, to me, because I've grown up here, my body and my inside temperature is kind of gotten accustomed to what the outside temperature is.
Mm-hmm.
So when it gets colder here, when it's like we have nights where it's like 9 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
but normally down where at the coast where most of the tourists are, it's like minimum of like 11 to 16, which is a nice summer night in any Scandinavian country.
Yeah.
But to me that is cold. So when that happens, I have the same clothes that you wear
Yeah.
in Stockholm, where when it's like minus 25, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Wow.
So no matter what season it is, I will do whatever it needs to be done. Like when it's the autumn, I wear sweaters, and when it's winter, I wear like thick winter coats and everything, just to kind of make my brain accept that I don't care if the sun is out. I am actually getting the seasons, because it's weird to not have the seasons that you see. I mean, you on television and on the mainland of Spain, they have the seasons,
Yeah.
and we don't. It's just completely stable.
Wow.
We do get rain from time to time, and on the top of the mountains, it might snow from like every 3 years or something. But it lasts for like 2 days, and then it just melts. So it is different, but we kind of go by the seasons even though we don't experience them, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I can't even take that in, but it's very interesting indeed. Thank you, Marilyn, for subscribing. By the way, you were there in the fligging there. It's weird when people subscribe while on live stream. It's like you have to. What's happening? How well do people I guess you've already answered that, but do people speak English well on the Canary Islands? Like, if you're talking about the local, because there's a lot of tourists, obviously, but if we're talking about the locals, how well do they speak English?
It depends on the place that you are, like where you go.
Mm-hmm.
If you the northern side of the island where there are no tourists, there won't be anyone speaking English. Maybe you'll find a few of them who knows how to say like hello and stuff like that, but they don't speak, like they're not going to have any conversation with you. On the south side, it's kind of mixed. It depends on the person, whether the person went to a different school than everyone else, or if they had a course. But generally, it's the level of English is really, really low.
Okay, so you have to kind of know a little bit of Spanish if you want to get around the island, if you want to stay for a little longer, I suppose.
Yes, but the good thing about the Canarian people is that they are very open and friendly. So if you first of all, if you try to learn Spanish, it doesn't mean that you need to be perfect at it,
Okay.
because they will help you through a sentence if you're trying to say something, and they will try to understand what you're trying to say, which helps a lot, because normally when you are learning a language, it can take some time for you to get the grammar perfectly down to whatever.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you are trying to say something but you're not able to say one word or two words, we'll try to make you understand what you're trying to say without you having to feel bad for not being able to. They really help you through. So you don't have to know perfect Spanish. You don't have to you don't have to take a course. All you have to do is try to talk to them, and you will learn really quickly. It's not a hard language to learn.
Well, that's actually pretty. It sounds very nice, actually, because that's one of the biggest fear I've heard from people that are learning a language, is that you come to a country and you try to speak that language and they immediately switch over to English, or they correct you every time because you're saying something incorrectly. So it sounds like a perfect place to learn Spanish if you're into that, I suppose.
It is. They are really keen on having people learn their language. And I mean, we do speak a dialect. We speak a more kind of like, I don't know how I would explain it, but we kind of talk a little bit more slang like.
Mm-hmm.
We talk slang, but it sounds a little bit more like Southern American, like a
Okay.
Latin American
Okay.
kind of Spanish. So they are more open, and they are very welcoming, if I could say. That's what they if you try to say a sentence and they are understanding what you're saying, they will either teach you how to say it, or they will just let you know that I understand what you're trying to say, so you don't have to worry about not being able to say it.
Interesting, interesting. That sounds like a nice place to live.
Yeah.
Quickly, Noileaf Green, you mentioned that the thumbnail was incorrect on the stream. I think I fixed that. Thank you for mentioning that. I don't know what happened on the stream. The title was wrong and the thumbnail, but hopefully that's fixed now. I'm getting used to streaming here. Anyway, we're talking about life there on the Canary Islands. I suppose since you've been there a lot even before you actually moved there as a 7-year-old kid, but have you did you know anything, or did you get to learn anything about the culture in school, the Canary, like the history and stuff? Is that a part of the subject in school that you took, or?
Yeah,
it is. Do you go a course, or is it a certain?
I mean, we do, like when you teach history in any kind of school, I think normally you would learn about like the world history and then specific like wars and stuff like that. But then you also learn about your country's history.
Mm-hmm.
And we learned about the mainland, Spain, like mainland history, but then we also focused on our own history, which is I think we had it for like 1 straight year where we just learned about.
Oh.
I mean, it's not a lot to learn about because there's not much that happened here. It's a small island, but we learned about agriculture and fishing history and stuff like that, like small and like shipping, because Gran Canaria has one of, like, I think it's Europe's largest shipping harbor.
Ooh,
or something like
really?
Transit. Yeah.
Wow.
It's Europe's biggest transit harbor, I think it is.
I didn't know that.
It's like a huge part of, they're proud of it, so they teach kids that in school.
Are Canary, what do you call people? Canaries? What would you call the people of Canary Island?
Canary. Yeah. The people are Canarian people.
Canarian people. Are they generally proud of their heritage, or where they come from?
Very. There are cases, but if you ask a Canary people, like a Canarian person, are you Canarian or are you Spanish? And they will say, I am Spanish by law, but I am Canarian.
Oh, okay.
Don't identify with Spanish, if that makes any sense. I mean, that's not all the cases. Obviously, with what is happening today with Barcelona and everything, like Catalonia and everything like that, we do want, like, we are part of Spain and we want to keep Spain the way it is, but we are Canarians. We are not, we don't identify as Spanish people.
So you're almost in the same way as I suppose the Catalonians are, in a way, like a sub country within a country, I suppose, in a way.
Yeah, I mean, we're a territory. I mean, in our case, we are separated from the mainland, and
exactly.
we're so that we have our own culture and we have our own, like, holidays and stuff like that. But it is mainly the same thing. But they, like the Canarian people, there are some groups that do want to be independent and stuff like that, but mainly one wants to be a part of Spain because it is a Spanish territory. But as a person, they will identify as Canarian and not Spanish.
Interesting. The Growth Nuke, welcome to the gang. I never had this many subscribers while on one of these pods. It kind of disrupts, but it's lovely to see that people are interesting. I guess it's you and your beautiful voice that draws these people in here.
Make sure it's your personality.
And my personality is weird. We've talked, or I try to get you to say your favorite Norwegian word. Do you have a favorite Spanish word? I took like you took German in school. My C language was Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish nearly as I can't speak for my life. But do you have a favorite Spanish word? Do you, something that maybe sounds nice, or I don't know. Is there maybe a specific word that is maybe only used on Canary Islands or something like that?
Oh, that there are a lot of words that are only used on the islands. But there's one word that I really like, but it's a negative meaning. The word is venganza.
Venganza?
Yeah, venganza.
Oh, venganza. Okay.
No, I mean, it's spelled with a V, but you say with a B in
okay.
the Canary. That's one of, like, the Canarian people say B when it's a V, and S when it's a like C and Z and stuff like that. And the meaning of the word is vengeance, like.
Kind of makes sense.
But I love how it sounds. I just think it's
venganza.
Like a different thing, and yeah, venganza.
Honestly, I think the word in English is pretty. I think I like that as well, like vengeance. I don't know what it is about it.
I don't know. It doesn't sound so negative.
Yeah, maybe not. It sounds a little bit elegant in a way.
For Canarian words, there are like a million. We say, like, for instance, in Spanish, you would say patata for a potato.
Yeah.
But in Spain in Canary Islands and in some parts of South or Latin America, you would say papa.
Papa. Papa.
But it's easier that way, you know.
So your dad is a potato.
Yes, exactly.
Nice. We have a question here from Nix. He asks, just a quick question. Have you been on the bus number 1, Las Palmas to Mogan? This is the slowest bus. Haha. Have you been on this bus?
Yeah, I have been on that. I used to, before I started working as a flight attendant, I used to go to this flight attendant academy in Las Palmas, and I lived at that point, it was called Pasito Blanco, which is in Las Palmas. And in the mornings, the bus that I wanted to take, either it was always punctual or it was completely like late, like half an hour late or something. Okay. So I would have to the number 1, and he's right, like it takes forever.
Wait, is it the bus that is slow, or is it a lot of stops on the way?
It's a lot of stops. It stops literally everywhere.
Oh, okay.
So from when I drive with my car from here to Las Palmas, it takes me like maybe 40 minutes. With that bus, it took me over 2 hours.
2 hours? Oh my lordy! That's a time that you don't want to spend on a warm bus. I guess you don't want to spend that time on any bus if you don't have to. Let's see. All right. I suppose a lot of my questions here were based on that you have lived in Norway for quite a while. I didn't know for how long you'd been on Canary Islands, but let's put it this way. What are the biggest differences that you've experienced between the Norwegian culture and the Spanish culture? I'm sure you've experienced a lot of things that, even though you've spent most of your life on Canary Islands, but there must have been things that when you go back to Norway, you're like, okay, this is different.
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot. I spent most of my summers in Norway, and I grew up in a very Norwegian way, if that makes any sense. Like my parents are Norwegian, so we had the Norwegian culture at home.
What's a
So it,
typical Norwegian way? Like, do you have any
well,
specifics?
like compared to the Spanish way.
Okay, okay.
I like the culture difference. Like one of example is that in Norway, you would eat dinner at around like 6 p.m., 5 p.m., like something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that is in Sweden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Especially when
Around
you're a kid, I suppose
Yeah.
you do that.
School and everything, and then you eat like that time.
Yeah.
In Spain, no matter your age or anything, you will normally eat your dinner at around 10 or 11 p.m.
Oh, that. Yeah, I've noticed that.
Difference.
It's a big difference that in they eat later, and is that due to the fact that the sun is up a little bit? Or...
No, I actually they just say that. I mean, they eat a big lunch, which in Norway you don't really do that. In Norway you eat like a normal sized breakfast, and then you eat something at around like 12 or 1 p.m.
Yeah.
and then you come home and you eat your dinner, and then before you go to bed maybe you have like a little snack or something, and then that's it. But in Spain, you wake up and they have the mentality of the Mediterranean diet, so you need to eat a lot. Well, you need to eat like many times a day.
Mm-hmm.
They eat a big breakfast, they eat a big lunch, like a huge lunch,
Mm-hmm.
and then they eat a light dinner, but they eat it really, really late. So when I was in school, I would normally go to bed around 10 or 11 when I was like having to get up at like 7 a.m. the next morning, where my friend would go to bed at at 1 a.m. because they just had their dinner.
Oh,
So that's really, really strange.
yeah, that's a
But you
huge difference.
is, but especially when you grow up with Norwegian parents who don't understand that, they're like just so wrong.
Yeah.
Now being a grown up, I kind of see like normally when I go to bed, I still go to bed at like 10 or 11. I'm not really the one to stay up very, very late.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like the last thing I want to do before I go to bed is eat. So I
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
really, so when they eat 10, they need to stay up a few hours more just to kind of like
Digest it.
digest.
Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah. Etta Ressel asks, do you have any favorite German word? Maybe because of the sound or the meaning. Maybe it's a difficult question to answer, I suppose. Or do you have any German words that you like?
Actually, I mean, I think German sounds kind of like harsh.
Yeah, I think most people do in a way.
Very harsh. But I have one of my best friends from my childhood. She was actually German, and first word that I learned when I was a kid was Schwein, which is pig.
Yep.
So that's like the first one that comes to mind. It's not my favorite word, but it's
Schwein.
Yeah, very nice word.
I learned a word from the first guy I interviewed. He lived in Germany. He taught me a word which is the longest German word. I don't know if I like it because of the sound of it, but just because it's a great you never use that word because it's so long. I suppose it's the same in Norwegian and Swedish as well, where you can basically you can add as many words as you want and just create a new word from that. But let's see if I can pronounce it. Rindfleischetikettierungsüberwachung Aufgabensübertragungsgesetz. And that refers to the law of delegating of monitoring beef labeling. It's like,
oh wow!
I was like,
Okay.
nah, I'm never gonna use that word.
No one ever uses that.
What's the longest Norwegian word? Do you know that?
No, I have no idea. I can Google it, but
Yeah.
I have no idea. I've never thought of that actually, but it is the way that you say. Like you can have one specific word that has a meaning, and then you can just add like the person who does this or the person
Exactly,
who
exactly. So
add and add, and at the end, it's not really a legit word,
yeah,
but it has a meaning.
the longest Swedish word is Nordvästersjö kustartilleris flygspaningssimulatorsanläggningsmateriel underhållningsuppföljningssystems diskussionsinläggsförberedelsearbeten.
Oh,
I use that. I use that every second day. Like at work, I'm like, I'm gonna go and do my.
yeah, that's really impressive that you have that. I have no idea. It doesn't. I'm googling it, but it doesn't really say.
I'll see if I can. Oh no, these are just funny and weird Norwegian words. That's not helping me at all.
Yeah.
Rusbrus.
Rus.
That sounds hilarious in Swedish, by the way.
Yeah. Well, does it sound like? Does it have another meaning in Swedish?
Yeah, like rus is like a rouse, or like rus
Oh, yeah.
is when you can also rusa. That's when you're running really fast.
Because that word in Norwegian is like when you rusa, then you're like high on.
Oh, okay. That's like.
See, that's weird.
So it sounds like there's rus, brus, and brus is the word that like the waterfall makes, like a noise. Or I'm sure there's an English word for that, but the noise that the waterfall makes. So it sounds like there's like a running noise.
Yeah.
In Swedish.
So,
But for you who
yeah.
don't speak in Norwegian, that means
It's
soda or alcohol soda or whatever you want to say.
just a soda, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I found the Norwegian one. Well, there's one that has 60 letters, and it is, I have no idea how to read this.
Yeah.
Minoritetsladningens bäre diffusionskoefficientel målingsapparatur. Wow. That has no meaning for me. Like there's just no. Oh my god.
No, but it was the same with the Swedish one. It's like, why? Like what? It's a lot of words. I know the individual words, but why? Like, yeah. We sidetracked there a little bit. Sorry about that. Are you allowed to vote in the? I guess it's the Spanish elections now.
Yeah, no, I'm not allowed. I am allowed to vote in the like my hometown where I'm basically just what's the call, like
registered, I guess.
Yeah. So in my hometown, in the local voting, like in the local election, I am allowed to vote. But I am not allowed to vote in the national elections.
Okay, it's good to know. It's just interesting to see. Hi, Max Dowdy, by the way, and for all of you guys who joined in the middle of the stream, the stream will be available afterwards, like the other ones as well. So don't worry, you'll hear mine and Linda's fabulous voices later on as well. But you don't vote in the Spanish elections, but do you vote in the Norwegian elections then?
Yes, I do.
I
voted. Now I was in Norway. I was in Oslo in September, and I voted for the first time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got. I suppose the age for voting in Norway is the same in Sweden. 18.
18. Yes, exactly.
Nice. How was that? How was the are you read up on what's happening in the Norwegian politics or what's happening in the country and stuff?
Yeah, I am. I follow, like, in my mind I grew up Spanish or Canarian, but I feel very Norwegian, so I have identified more as a grown-up because when I was a kid I spent most of my time speaking in Spanish and doing Spanish, like being around Spanish people and all of these things. So now as a grown-up I identify more as a Norwegian person, so I am more like involved in everything, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to go back to Norway in September, was so that I was able to vote and
yeah.
have a say what happens. And I got my way, so I was really happy about it.
Nice, nice. Do you miss Norway?
Yes.
You
Oh
do.
my God, yeah.
What do you miss the most about Norway?
So the seasons, and this is gonna sound really weird, but the snow,
Oh,
and I miss I mean, I lived there for a little under a year in 2012, while like I was going back and forth from Gran Canaria to Oslo while working as a flight attendant. So I spent a lot of time there, and I kind of got um I got nostalgia kind of when I went back there, and I kind of remember what it was being a kid in Norway, when in November it gets dark at like 4 p.m.,
yeah.
which does never happen here. Like it just doesn't happen. Like it happened like an hour ago here, so it's not normal for me. So I miss that, and I miss the accessibility of everything,
Yeah.
because we live on a remote island. We have our own stuff and everything. Like we do get imported stuff from everywhere,
Yeah.
but it's not to have the accessibility of doing whatever you want and going wherever you want to easy, which is not something that I'm able to do here.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. How often do you go back then to Norway?
I try to go back at least once a year, but I was back in Easter last year,
Mm-hmm.
and then back now in September, and I'm hoping to go back really, really soon.
Wow. I think you should. It's always good to switch environments, I suppose, in a way.
It is. I have been debating about. I wanted to move back a couple of years ago, and I have been thinking about it very a lot lately, and I do want to. It's just that I read a quote one time, and it said that once you have lived in two places, you will never find like a peace in one place.
Mhm.
Like you will always want to be at in the other place.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So when I was living there for the majority of the time, I was missing the island, and
Yeah.
when I came back, I started missing Oslo.
Yeah.
So I'm worried that if I go back, I'm gonna be like crazy missing this place.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a debate in my mind.
I suppose there's gonna be something in between where you go half the season in on Canary Islands and half the season in Norway. I suppose like, could be a solution to it.
Yeah.
Nice. We're gonna go on to a small little game now that we do each time we do this show. It's gonna be interesting. I introduced to you this before we started, but it's a game I call I Hum You Guess, and this is how it works. I prepared 5 songs for you that I will listen to in my little headphones here that is connected to my phone, so that you won't be able to hear what I'm listening to.
Okay.
And then I will try to hum the songs, and that's up to you to guess which song I'm humming to. And you get 1 point if you can guess the name of the song, and you get another point if you know the artist as well. And I suppose if you know the album, that would be another point. But
Really out there.
I rarely know the albums of most artists anyway, so it will be interesting. So we'll see how this will go. And firstly, I want to know if this is working at all. Yeah, it's working. Nice. Okay, so are you ready, Mr. That's not a Mr. Mrs. Mrs. Linda. The first song I'm gonna hum to. This is a little bit scary for me as well, so don't be nervous.
Okay.
Okay. That was on the stream. I think all of you heard that. Damn it. What happened? I love the technical difficulties, but if you're not listening to the stream, I'm sure you won't get this because but the people listening, I'm not able to, so I'm gonna hum it anyways because I know it. Okay. Have you heard of that song?
Yeah, and I know which one it is, but oh wait, oh my god, I can't. Oh my god.
Any guesses?
I have it of my tongue.
I can give you. I can give you a hint. It's something that you eat while going to the movies. Oh, nice popcorn. Yes.
Popcorn, and it's like the frog kind of. Wait, what? Popcorn. Oh, what's it called?
Are you talking about the artist right now?
No, yeah. Well, I was talking about the video. I was. About...
I think you're thinking about the. There was a modern take of it with that froggy, the annoying frog or whatever it was. The original song was, I think, in the 80s or something like that, by a group called Hot Butter. Not many people might not know that, but you'll get 1 point for that. I'm a nice person today. And this is how it should have sounded, and I have it in both of my ears right now. Interesting. Both of my ears. I have 2 ears, so I don't know what I'm talking about this day. We're moving on to the next song. Okay, let's see if I can. This I need in my ear in order to sing this one. Okay. What? What?
That's a Beyonce song, right?
Oh, you're on the right track.
Child?
Yes, you have 1 point there. Which song is it?
Oh, wait. Survivor.
Oh, nice. 2 points.
Oh my god, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Nice. That is Survivor with the Destiny Child, and this is how it should have sounded. It's a great song, by the way, from the 90s or beginning of the 2000. I can't remember when it was released, but it's a great song.
I think it's 2000 something.
Yeah. Perfect. You have got 3 points already. And for your information, we have I've done this game together with 2 other guests, and they've gotten 5 points. So if you're able to get 2 more points, you're tied up with the lead there. So it's gonna be interesting.
Okay.
Well, let's see. We have 3 more songs, so I'm sure you're gonna get there. Okay. So the next song in this is gonna be interesting to see if both of you know it and if I'm able to hum this one, because my God, my humming skills are off the charts. Okay.
You're doing a great job. Mamma Mia. No, what's it called? It's called that, right?
No.
Oh my god, I know the song. I found that on Spotify. Oh, what's it called?
I'm pretty much singing the lyrics there.
Yeah, it's called Panamericano.
Oh!
Is that right?
Yeah, that's the lyrics. Do you know the name of the song? It's kind of what you're saying. It's a sample from an old Italian song.
Oh, I have it. It's something about talking, right? Wait.
Yeah. You're on the
speak Americano.
Ah, there we go. 1 point. My God. High five. High five all around. That is we know speak Americano. With a DJ I've never heard about before. Yolanda Be Cool is the name of the artist, and this is how it should have sounded. It's really fun. I've listened to the original where the song which as the artist has sampled it from. It's really interesting to hear how much the DJ has like modified the song into a complete different song. For some reason right now my my phone refuses to communicate. Oh, now here we are. Okay, you have 4 points And we have 2 songs more to go. There's a big chance that you go up in the lead. That would be interesting to see. We have a comment here. There's a video of the popcorn song on YouTube with the Swedish cook in the Muppet Show. That is what I always reminds me of. Okay. Whatever gets you happy. That I'm going to look it up later on. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the 4th song?
Yes.
This is going to be interesting to see if I can hum. I'm sure you know the song, but okay.
Okay.
It's up to me to kind of provide the tone here. Okay. I need to. It's really.
Oh my god, I know that song, but I have no idea which one.
I'm not humming anymore, but.
Oh my god, I'm never gonna get this.
Anyone in the chat knows?
Oh my god, I know that song!
Anyone in the chat has any guesses about that? My left ear is I gotta get a tinnitus. Is that the word for? Yeah, it's probably is in English. Like when you get the ringing noise in your ear.
No, I think it's tinnitus.
Yeah, tinnitus. Yeah, exactly.
In every language, I think.
We have 2 guesses here from Etta Resel, I don't know how to pronounce that, and Alexander Korinko, who both say the sound of silence with Simon and Garfunkel, and that's correct.
I have that on Spotify. I was trying to find the lyrics to sing it, because that way it kind of helps me
yeah, exactly.
know the song, but there was no way.
Come to talk with you. So this is how it sounds. Well, it's you've heard the song. That makes me a little bit happy inside.
Okay, good.
It's a good song. It's a good song, and a lot of YouTubers have used it. It's a little bit overused, in my opinion. They use it when oh, I'm alone and nobody sees me.
Yeah,
okay,
that's what it's used for mostly.
Yeah. Okay, final song. Let's see if you know this one. How old are you, by the way?
25.
25. Then maybe this could be a stretch.
Okay.
This was popular when I went to middle school. I was.
Wait, how old are you?
Oh, sorry. I'm 28. So.
Oh, okay.
I was about 13 or 14 when this was the shite. Okay, I'm sure you've heard it. Okay, let's see.
That's the OC. No, wait.
Yeah, that's from the OC.
It is, right?
Yes.
Oh, California.
Oh!
Wait. Oh my god, what's that song?
You have it. California. You have it.
No, but it has another name, right?
No, it's California. California, here we come. It's just California.
That's the song. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. California,
do you know?
Here we come. Yeah.
You have 5 points. Do you know the artist?
Oh my god.
It's like one of those one-hit wonders kind of bands.
Yeah, I actually think that it's something unusual. I think wait. I don't know. Wait, I think I have them, because I remember the video for this song, and it was really, really weird. Because this is they were masked or something, right? They wore a lot of makeup when they did that video, I think.
Maybe.
Like the sun or something? No, the yard? No, wait. The garden.
Oh, I think you're onto something, but it's not quite. It's Phantom Planet. It's called.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
I was thinking about the other. No, yeah.
Well, in any case, you got 5 points, and if you go to the leaderboard here, it puts you on the second spot here. I'm gonna push Philip down because he doesn't deserve the second. Well, it's a tied second spot together with Philip. So we have Scandinavian. I'm trying to type while I'm doing this. So we have you on a tied second place. Oh, I forgot the points you got. You got 5 points as well, which is awesome. It seems like.
Thank you.
I wonder, like we have there's all of the guests have had like 5 or 5.5 points. So I'm wondering if it's my humming that's screwing things up, but.
No, actually, we're doing a really good job. It's just I completely blank out when these things happen to me, so don't worry.
I think you did an awesome job, anyways.
Thank you.
Anyway, before we were closing in on the end of this stream, and I quickly wanted to talk about what's gonna happen next week. Next week, I don't have that much planned actually, but there's gonna be a stream. Don't fear, my fellow people. Whatever it's gonna be, if it's gonna be an interview or it's gonna be me talking to you directly about a subject, or maybe I'm gonna do something incredible. We'll see. If you have any tips or suggestions that you want me to talk about, please tweet to me, or maybe write in the chat here, or reach out to me in any type of way. And it would be fun to see if you're interested in hearing anything from me talking about that, or maybe if I can get a guest in. We'll see about that. So, a little bit anticlimactic there. I was gonna present some other fancy guest here, but I don't have that. But I promised this to be a weekly show, so I'm gonna stick to that. All right, Linda, thank you so much for being on the show. I have a last question to you, actually.
Okay.
What is your best tips for somebody who wants to move to another country?
My best tip is to go for it. Just do it.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with trying new things, I think. I mean, you only get one life, right? So if you want to move somewhere, and no matter where it is, I mean, as long as it's a safe place, you're not moving to somewhere in the middle of a war or something. But I think just go for it. But like, it's important to try to become a part of the community that is like with the local people, to integrate with the people and learn the language and try the new foods, and just go for it. It might be scary in the beginning, but in my life experience, it is the best thing that ever happened to me.
That's good advice, and I hope people will take that with you, with you. What I'm talking about? I'm getting a little bit tired. Can we have 5 more songs, please, for the chat? It seems like that would be fun, but I think it would be a little bit unfair to the other people who has been on the show. Like, but anyways. Again, a big thank you for being a part of the show, and for you guys who are watching this and are interested in Scandinavian Freckles, as Linda is called on YouTube. She has a YouTube channel actually, and that is Scandinavian Freckles. Who would knew? So be sure to check her out and go over to her channel and check her videos out. She, as you described in the beginning of the video, you do vlogs and you do tags and you do
all sorts of random things.
Yeah, you play The Sims as well. We should play The Sims together one day. I haven't played The Sims since almost rhymed. Since the first game, I think. That was an awesome game.
Oh wow! Yeah, well, it has changed a lot.
Yep. The best part about The Sims that I found was the actual building part. I never cared that much about when you started the actual game. I love making a family. I remember
the same way.
I remember doing like weird things as well. Like I built a prison and have like prison guards and people in like prison cells and stuff.
It's really fun to kind of just be creative and put whatever you want in the game. That's really like the fun part.
Yes. So we'll look into that. But if until that day, you guys out there and watching this video should go ahead and check Linda's videos out. She has some creative, nice videos out there. Again,
Thank you so
it's been
much.
lovely to have you on the show, and hopefully,
Yeah, thank you.
and hopefully the people out there thought it was interesting, because I thought it was interesting to get to know a little bit more about the lifestyle of the Canary people. Is that? It sounds so
people.
weird because Canary. I'm thinking about the bird all the time.
Yeah.
I'm a canary. I'm a bird person.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun, actually.
Great. And for you guys out there, until the next time I see you and your pretty faces, I hope you have a splendid day. And swim safe. Bye.
Nackapodden, ja.